You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show of the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. We got one new phone number at least today. So let's go ahead and get started. If and you please, if I could find, what am I looking for here? I'm a freaking mess. All right, ready, set, go. Here we go and go.
Hey Ryan, this is Jersey Mike.
What's up?
Yeah, this is my wife's phone number. Just wanted to let you know.
By the way, I don't want to make it weird or anything, but this is officially going to go in the phone number list as Jersey Mike's wife. So there we go.
Part of the problem that I've had with calling in is last Sunday before the Titans game, I broke my phone. It fell off my knee while I was on the toilet and broke. Not off, the ladders that it's fallen off of, just off of my knee onto the floor.
Sure.
Nothing special.
Yeah.
Screen shattered. Anyway, you guys don't care about that. What you care about is we just lost this game. And this is a big one. And you know what? I like how he came out. I like how he played. Matt LaFleur getting a 15-yard penalty for screaming his off at the refs. I'm down for it, bro. I'm here for it. He went and apologized after game, but I'm not. I am not even slightly. He does not need to apologize. His energy, his fire, his spirit is why this team continued to battle.
I think you're right, and he has to say that as the coach. Number one, because he's right. He would be a hypocrite if he goes out and scolds people for getting in trouble, making stupid decisions in critical situations, and that was a critical situation that could have very easily cost him 7 points. But at the same time, I think it's one of those things where as long as he comes out and is honest and is like, listen, I tell you guys you can't do it, I should have the ability to not do it. But at the same time, number one, it shows that he's human, right? It's not like I'm never doing anything wrong and you guys keep making stupid mistakes, screw you. It's like, no, listen, I get it and I do it too, but you got to freaking smarten up. And so do I, et cetera, et cetera. And beyond that, like, I'm positive the players feel the same way you do. I think they would rather their coach get in trouble for showing passion than some of these coaches you look at on the sideline. I swear they don't have any emotion. And McCarthy was kind of that way. He was very stoic. But a lot of these guys, even the younger guys, which is surprising. The older guys, maybe they're not jumping around quite as much, but some of these younger guys, man, I swear they just don't care, or they keep their emotion to themselves, but it's just hard to play for something like that,
Man, I love to see a head coach act like that. We were pissed.
Yep.
Pissed. You know what? If Dontavian Wicks can catch some more balls and stop losing them in the light, if some guys can come up with some catches here, if Tucker Kraft doesn't put the ball on the ground, I mean, what kind of game are we talking about if Jordan Love, isn't taking all game to get ready? This is what happens when Jordan Love comes back early from a knee injury that should have been out two-ish more weeks, and he's down 28 zip with no time to go going into the half. Man, if you're not excited about how we came out after that and put the punishment on the Vikings, who cares? We lost by 2 points. Who cares? The Vikings don't deserve. They suck major donkey. Please tell me you came out of that game afraid of the Vikings, and I'll ask you one serious question. What the frick were you watching? Sam Darnold seeing ghosts. Rashawn Gary, Danny Barre, Wyatt, Brooks, Edgerrin Cooper, Quay Walker, putting pressure on him constantly? Duffy, McDuffie, you gotta come up with that interception early there. But again, this defense shows us what it's all about. We can be down, but we ain't never out. I'm loving this attitude. I'm loving the trajectory. Let's just keep on grinding. People, please stop getting injured. Go, Pack, go.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that anybody would necessarily doubt that if you tack on another quarter or 2 quarters or whatever, the Packers likely come out ahead in that game. And usually that argument doesn't mean anything. But when you look at the situation, especially involving Jordan, not again, the Vikings earned the win. I'm not saying they didn't. But to your point about should you feel nervous or confident, I think you should feel confident. I think there were a ton of mistakes made almost exclusively by the Packers. So if both teams get to a point of playing a clean game, the Vikings are almost the exact same team they were. The Packers are significantly better than the Vikings. Now, that's not to say that the Packers are going to. They've played 4 games, and as far as I'm concerned, it's been 4 pretty sloppy games. We assume that Jordan is going to play much better, but let's not forget this is almost exactly what we saw last year with like one half where it's like this guy's terrible, and then the second half where he comes back and looks like the best quarterback in football. Again, I'm not saying that I think that that's where we're at. There's an excuse for it this year with, at least in that game with the leg injury and not having practiced in like a month. But I don't know. I definitely understand having more optimism. Again, games matter. It absolutely matters when you lose a game, especially to a division rival. But as far as do I feel good about the prospects of us winning in the future? Yes, I absolutely do. That presumes that, yes, we stop getting hurt, that we get Jair back, that guys on that frickin' defensive line actually step up, and Jordan continues to play like the Jordan we saw last year and not like the Jordan we've seen in his 2 games so far this year. But assuming those things, yeah, I think we're going to be a good football team.
What's up? It's Kyle from Madison.
What's up?
So we just did not get the onside kick. Man, that game took a year off my life. Seriously, that thing. God, well, you all watched it. I don't have to tell you that. The first half, I mean, especially the first quarter, that's some of the worst defense you're going to see. Terrible offense, horrible coaching. The decision to start along by questioning still anyway.
Yeah.
Especially after we're, without 4 or 5 hugely impactful players. Just feels like one where you want to keep the vibes decent, do your best with Willis, and move on to next week with another week for him to heal. So I just completely, fundamentally disagree with that. But I will say this. As upset as I am right now, a few moments into the loss, granted I've been bracing for it for 2 hours, but that's probably one of the worst games we're going to play this year, God willing. I mean, obviously, Jordan Love and the receivers are very rusty. They haven't played together hardly at all this year. Been several weeks. It showed, and they were still able to do what they did. And let me just say something. Well, a couple things. One, I don't know what the hell a catch is anymore. I mean, if you're going to go with the ruling on the field as the thing that you have to overturn with visual evidence, I mean, to hell with that. That didn't happen once. What a bunch of crap. I mean, at least they could have been consistent about how they went about awarding the ball. I mean, just because you think it might have maybe touched the ground, what is that crap? And then, not that I'm complaining, but they totally screwed over the Vikings also with the Xavier catch was not a catch. I don't understand anymore, okay? I mean, if they're going to be wrong, at least be consistent in how you're wrong. And it wasn't. It was back, forth. I don't even understand the McKinney one. I don't understand any of this shit. Excuse me. This is what I'll say, though. Man, if that's the Vikings, the 4-0 Vikings, at full strength, totally healthy, playing their best, apparently, that they're going to play all year. That's their final form, according to Vikings fans. Okay. I mean, we've seen this movie before. The Vikings, they're always celebrating some championship this time of the year. And then what happens at the end of the year? The Packers come back, demoralize them, beat them later in the year, and who's there at the end? It's not usually the Vikings. Sometimes, but not usually.
I think there is something to say about that. And I haven't seen the other Vikings games. I've seen bits and pieces of them. But if that's kind of what they've been doing to teams playing really disciplined football, again, the negative there is, kudos to their coach for getting their team up and ready early in the season. The issue is people are going to catch up. Other teams are going to start playing clean football. Other teams are going to be more, adept at their own systems. A lot of teams are out there tripping over themselves. I mean, this year in particular, I'm looking at, you just look at the rankings of quarterbacks. Darnold is far from the only outlier here. Darnold is kind of the norm because it's almost like everything's inverted. Darnold is near the top, and almost all the best quarterbacks are at the bottom. Like all of them, nearly. And like I've said with a lot of other things, I don't expect it to stay that way. The Chiefs are going to figure it out. The 49ers maybe have already started to figure it out. Things are starting to pull out of their tailspins because good teams, at the end of the day, are going to be good teams. Now, that's not to say the Vikings aren't necessarily. I mean, again, they seem to have a really good coaching staff and whatnot. But if your primary thing here is we're a disciplined football team, I just think that only takes you so far. Now, you'll still be able to beat bad teams. So you start off 4-0. You beat a good amount of the bad teams. I mean, you're still probably a playoff team at this point. I mean, it's almost difficult to miss the playoffs now. Not really, but, it's a heck of a start, especially since, I mean, half the league or more still hasn't figured it out. I mean, the Chiefs are still playing sloppy. The Packers are still playing sloppy. Jared Goff is still one of the worst quarterbacks in football. Like, it's a mess. We'll see how he does, for me anyways, tonight. I haven't seen it yet, but hoping that doesn't change. But it's very weird. And who knows, maybe this is just a weird year where there's a huge realignment that happens. And Jaden Daniels is the best quarterback in football, and Darnold is another one of the best quarterbacks in football, and Baker, and just a whole lot of mid to bad guys that you wouldn't expect to be up there. While, C.J. Stroud and Goff and Jordan and, I guess Tua, even though maybe that's a little unfair, but he's down there, and Rodgers and everybody else is at the bottom, and Mahomes is trending toward the bottom. Maybe that's how it stays, but I don't think so. And, like you said, even looking at last year and years prior, I mean, the Packers start off slow the last 2 years in a row, and this isn't even necessarily slow, being 2-2. But they start off slow, and what happens? They pick it up at the end. The Vikings start off hot, and what happens? They taper. The Lions, same. They tapered last year. It's almost like every team has a very different start to the season and end to the season, and we can go through a whole bunch of other stuff. So, credit where it's due, but it ain't the end of the season yet. So it'll be a while before we can kind of do our final evaluations of who are the good teams and who are the bad teams.
I'm sorry, if that's them full strength against us playing really our worst game that you're going to see, and it's a 2-point game, that honestly, if the coach just makes the correct decision a few times or Narvison hits one of the field goals, then we're talking about it's totally different. I don't think the Vikings are a team that's going to be able to play without the lead. I don't think Darnold's going to be there at the end. I'm sorry. So at the end of the day, it sucks. We did some things good, mostly bad, and the Vikings are going to be exposed as frauds eventually. I'm pretty confident of that. So, all right. Have a good day, everybody.
Well, I mean, that's probably part of it, too, in terms of figuring out how to beat this team and getting out to an early lead probably is a good start, but also just how to exploit things. Because, again, they're doing a great job with what they have, and some teams and some coaching staffs do that. But it's really, really hard to win when you don't have a great supporting staff, and they don't. Justin Jefferson's great. There's no doubt about it. A lot of teams have elite players at some point or another. The offensive line is Again, good tackles. Interior is a massive question mark. And the defense just kind of across the board, I mean, don't get me wrong. They're having success, especially since they're like the second most blitz-happy team in football. I mean, that's a good way to generate pressure. But it's not based on the talent of the players necessarily. So it's going to take some time for people to just kind of slow down. I mean, they're just trying to figure out themselves right now and get out of their own crap. But I mean, it took the Packers one half to kind of figure out how to beat this team. And who knows what the Packers did and what that may have done for upcoming teams. They got the Jets coming up next, which it's tough to determine whether or not, I mean, it is at home. That's a big benefit to them. But it's difficult to determine whether that's going to be a good game for them or a bad game. One person pointed out, for example, the Jets just lost to the Broncos. Not only does that suck because the Broncos are not a good football team, but the Jets are the number 1 team in blitzing. The number 2 team is the Vikings. So if that's the formula to beat the Jets, it sucks to be the Jets. On the flip side, if there has been a weakness exposed for the Vikings, that's not great when you're talking about, number 1, Aaron Rodgers, who's an intelligent quarterback. Number 2, they have the weapons around them, specifically in Garrett Wilson, to execute against a defense, even one that's playing well. Number 3, a defense that has success blitzing I mean, Aaron Rodgers is one of the guys that is going to be able to handle that. And beyond that, playing from a lead is a lot more difficult when you're going up against a team like the Jets, who has a very, very good defense. You could say, well, the 49ers and Houston Texans do too. I mean, maybe, I don't know. Are the Texans a good football team? The 49ers haven't been good until like this week. It's one thing to point out like a team's historic whatever. It's not necessarily a reflection of where they are right now. But whatever, we'll see. I mean, again, everything is so weird. Trying to project anything is impossible. But these are certainly possibilities in terms of what could happen as the season goes on and what could go wrong for the Vikings, which is already different than how the season started, where I was saying things will be devastatingly awful for the Vikings. And now I'm sitting here speculating on what could possibly go wrong that could possibly lead them to declining by the end of the season, which not saying is going to happen, but it certainly may happen. By the way, some more negative news. Tried to find some bad things about that Bears game. I couldn't really find any. They didn't just win because of the defense. They scored a bunch of points. Really wasn't on the shoulders of Caleb, but even still in his limited capacity, he was pretty solid across the board. So bottom line is he had a pretty good day. I haven't seen what PFF said about him yet, but it is what it is. He had a good day. So, it's just one of those weeks where everything's going wrong, which is why I'm not feeling great about this Lions game. But let's take a break. We'll come back and hear from Steve in Alaska.
Hey, Ryan. Not happy, man.
I get it.
But it's just kind of what I expected. But I will say this. The team looked just god-awful in that first half. But at the end of it, you could see we were kind of getting ourselves back together. That last interception Love threw, I don't know what he was doing. That's going to be a problem. That's the Brett Favre in him. And he does it at the worst times because that was a drive we could have got points on. I'll hang on it. Nobody talked, for a long time, nobody talked about the kicker thing. And this is where the kicker bites you. This is where just one of them, he hits one of those, and this is a whole different game. But I saw flashes. I think everybody...
Well, just on the kicker thing real quick. By the way, I've been saying this for years. Nobody cares about kicker, punter, long snapper until they care about it, until you don't have it. Suddenly it's the biggest disaster in the world. This is why I get annoyed when people say, you never draft a kicker. Okay. Are you saying the value isn't there? Because look at the situation we're in now and tell me it's not worth a 5th, 6th, 7th round pick if you think you can find somebody. And that doesn't mean it's an automatic. It just correlates to value. That's all it is. There's nothing automatic about a 5th round pick ever. But it ups your odds slightly. It's a question of whether or not you find enough value in it. The idea that, well, those guys never pan out and you can just find undrafted free agents, bullcrap. It's very hard to find kickers. It just is. So, again, it's just a matter of value, and Gutekunst, even if you're upset with his lack of actually finding talent, is very willing to invest in special teams. And I feel like we can see why now. Because if you don't have a kicker, I mean, this is going to ruin, I said it, was it last year with Anders? I said, we're going to lose games because of Anders. We've already lost games because of Narveson. Not saying it was all his fault. If any one possible thing goes our way, instead of, doing something stupid, if that pick by McDuffie, that's why I get really upset when things like that happen. A lot of people are like, oh man, that stinks. That could have been cool. Bro, that might have cost us the freaking game. Like, stuff like that really, really, really matters. A simple drop by Wicks. Which one? You pick. All this stuff adds up. Which is why, playing good football matters. And having a kicker that's hitting even 75% of the time, which Packer fans seem to be content with, is not good enough. It's just not. You can't miss 25% of your kicks and that be okay. When other kickers are hitting, 80s and 90s. So, yeah, I mean, there's two things at play here. Number one, you have to be willing to invest. And that means, first of all, draft capital, but also money. The constant nickeling and diming of Mason Crosby for years, and granted, I don't think that's necessarily the point anymore. It may be part of it that Mason's like, I'm not playing for less than this, and teams are like, yeah, dude, you're not worth that anymore. I'm guessing that's the main holdup for Mason, aside from the talent level. Because again, it's always two sides of the coin. A lot of teams would be willing to have him if you were allowed to take somebody on for free. But yeah, it's felt like for years they were like, $2 million for a kicker. I don't like that. We need to put some competition in there, see if somebody could win. And then when nobody won, they're like, fine, we'll keep paying him $2. Who cares? Give him $5 million. If a guy can make all his kicks, give him whatever he wants. Not literally, but, I don't know. Whatever.
You can agree we all saw flashes in that second half. The team was settling back around having love there. I think if we got a game where we're not down by 28 points in the first half, we're going to be able to run the ball more and do more. Right. And, we get to see Minnesota again. I think we made them pretty nervous. And, they'll be worried about us the next time they see us, even though it'll be in their house. Damn it. But,
yeah, right. I hate playing in that spot.
What you can do, man? What you can do? We're 2-2. The season is far from over, and this is with Love having been down. This is about where one of the better scenarios that we're really looking to get. So let's go on to this LA game and hey man, kick some butt. Go Pack. Oh crap. I forgot there was some other point from earlier and I forgot what it was that I was gonna like make my issue on it, but whatever, man. Either way, we'll talk to y'all. Bye.
Could always call back. Yeah, I mean, it seems like we're all kind of a similar mind here where it sucks to lose. It sucks to lose a home game. It sucks to lose to a divisional opponent. All that stuff sucks. But in the long run, I mean, not even just this year, but long term, how do we feel about this team? How do we feel about Hafley? How do we feel about Jordan? How do we feel about Matt LaFleur and the long-term health of our team? I had somebody arguing with me about, I would rather we just got blown out as opposed to this teasing us with a 2-point loss thing. And the problem with that whole thinking is if they got blown out by 30, I'd be really nervous about the long-term health of this team. Matt LaFleur and this team's ability to come back when you're down as opposed to just giving up, which is what this team did for years during the Aaron Rodgers era. Like, it was just, if they were down, the pouting started and we just were done. It was over. The fact that this is one of those teams that they're never out until they're out, it says something. I don't know about Hafley yet. Seems like a lot of guys are really not playing well. I don't know if it's just going to take time for them to kind of figure it out or what. Some of it, I mean, we make all these excuses like, well, it's still early. They're still learning the system. And then you watch some of the plays like by Rashawn Gary where he's getting blocked by a tight end. And it's like, that's not a scheme problem. My issue is that I'm watching it happen and he's not confused about what to do. He can't beat a tight end. That's a freaking problem.
Hey, this is Washington Metro.
What's up?
Actually from Austin, of course. Just finished watching the game. And yes, that was a tough one, but I gotta say, that's a good loss. That's, we climbed back, crawled and clawed in the face of some adversity there and managed to somehow make it a game, even in the last minute. And that's a testament to the strength of this team. I mean, you watch that first half, you start to get a little worried, maybe we're not who we thought we were, but by the end, you got to just keep watching. These guys really rallied in a way that I love to see. Right. There's a season of football ahead of us, and I think there's still some greatness in these guys. Anyway, bye.
Yeah, and again, they're 2-2, right? It's not the end of the world. They're not 0-4. They're not even 1-3. They're 2-2. A lot of the league is in the same situation or worse. And I think they've got some really good opportunities in front of them. The Rams are a team that they've historically had a lot of success against. It's on the road. But the Rams, they've beat up on quite a bit, and this is a team that just lost to the Chicago Bears. The Cardinals were a scary team for a while. They are becoming less and less scary by the day. You got the Texans after that, which I thought might be the toughest on our entire schedule. I don't know exactly what they've got going for them right now. We'll have to see. The Jaguars are not particularly scary. Then we got Lions, we got Bears. I mean, these are very winnable games. Again, we'll see what the Lions are by the time we get there. 49ers are probably tough, and I say probably because I'm assuming they continue to get better. The 49ers that we've seen up until this point, at least up until this week when they got Kittle back, has not been very good. The Dolphins were semi-scary until they lost their quarterback. Lions again, Seahawks, Saints, Vikings, Bears. It comes down to the first half Packers team loses most of these games. The second half Packers team wins most of these games. And if you win most of these games, you're in the playoffs. I mean, you can lose 7 games and still be a 10-win team, right? Think about that. That's 5 more losses, and you're still fine. Unless the team is just bad, there's every reason to believe that they're not really going to lose or shouldn't be expected to lose more than 5 games. 5 more games. But, again, injuries, other question marks, we'll have to wait and see. But, again, that's why, for me, a lot of it comes down to how do you feel about this team? That's why a 2-point loss compared to a 30-point loss makes a big difference, because a team that fights all the way back within 2 points can win most of the upcoming games. A team that did not fight back and ended up losing by, let's say, 30-ish, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know what to think of that team. So, Trucker Bob, what's up?
Hey, Ryan. Trucker Bob here, out here heading across New Mexico, heading for Texas.
All right.
Got a chance to watch the game on my cell phone while my wife was driving. Too many mistakes. Love was rusty. Defense gave up way too much in the first half. Missed field goals, penalties. Love was high, low, behind, front. It was still almost pulled a crazy game out. We shouldn't have been in that game. We just got beat bad, but still, we came back and dang it, we almost pulled it out. That was proud of the guy. I'm not worried. We look good. I think we clean up the penalties. Love starts getting into rhythm, and defense tighten up a little bit more. Just gave up too much too early. Tough game. One last comment. Ryan, Minnesota is a heck of a lot better than we're giving them credit for. I mean, Darnold looks good. That defense looks good. They got some players on that offense. They got a good team. They could very easily make the playoffs this year. If they keep going like they're doing, they're going to win the division.
Yep.
But, of course, they're still the Vikings. But still, great game. I'm glad we came back instead of getting embarrassed. So, anyways, on to the next game and go back out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to just keep repeating myself, but yeah, the Vikings right now are the best team in the division. We'll have to see how that goes. That's about it. I mean, that's where we're at through 4 weeks. The Packers are 2-2. You feel good about the future. The Vikings are 4-0. They feel real good about their situation, even if they're tenuous about the future. I can't believe that I'm actually entertaining the thing that I said was the dumbest thing I heard in the entire offseason, which is, what do you do at quarterback if Darnold continues to play this way? Very good chance that he ends up getting more money from the Vikings, and I'm not saying he's the long-term starter necessarily, but next year you're looking at JJ having to sink or swim as your starting quarterback, having really not practiced at all last year because he was injured. And so do you throw a serious contract at Darnold, who's probably getting serious offers, or do you let him walk and hope that JJ comes in and makes it work? You probably should let him walk, because I think the assumption has to be that it's the coaching staff that's making it work as well as it does, and hopefully they can do that with McCarthy, who's more talented, in my opinion, than Darnold is. Maybe talented isn't the right word, but as far as, the quarterback everybody's looking for today that can do like the Mahomesy stuff, in my opinion, JJ's kind of that dude. But I don't know. We just have limited information, man. We're trying to read into the future, and the data's all frickin' scrambled, but it's where we are today. Let's take a break. We'll come back and hear from Omar the firefighter.
What's going on? So Omar the firefighter, how you doing?
What's up?
I wasn't going to even call because I didn't want to be mad or upset at the game. I had to work today as well, so that's another reason I had somebody work for me so I could watch the game. But I'm calm. I'm not like I said. We played like crap and still almost won. So I look at that the positives. But what I will say is this is on the kicker. Like I'm sorry. I know Greg Joseph was not a good kicker, but he's better than the guy we got now.
Yep.
The kicker we got now was missing a field goal of the game, which is not good to begin with at all. But both kicks that he missed in today's game were both like makeable. It's different if it was like 50 yards plus whatever. We were in field goal range for each one of his misses, and
and you're even understating it a little bit because I would love to know the last time somebody was 0-2 from within, 45 yards? Maybe one was 47. I don't know. I would be stunned to find out it's happened often and or recently. Because here's the other side of it. You're saying, it's understandable if it was like 50-something. Kind of, but not really. If you've got a kicker and he has 2 attempts from 55, I think you cut him slack on one of the two. 0 for 2, still not good enough. It's not. You're expected to make both. If you miss one, it's kind of like, well, it was pretty tough. I guess I get it. You miss both, and it's like this. It's just, that's not good. Unless you're like a really old kicker and you just don't have the leg anymore, in which case it's like, well, he's not really built for that, but he's really good inside of 50 or something. We can have that conversation if it's 55 plus. Maybe at 60 plus, you kind of get to the point where you expect 2 misses, but you kind of hope for one. Bro, both of them are inside of 50. One of them was basically an extra point. So I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying you're going too easy on him.
That literally would have changed the whole game out. If he made both of those field goals, it's a whole different ball game, So that's, I think, is the big takeaway. Defense played good. I'm loving the defense. There was really the offense, I feel like, was the reason we lost that. And we was missing a lot, starters on defense and stuff, but I got to put fault on the offense for the first terrible quarter. But anyway, go Pack Go. I'm going to stay positive. It's just the first quarter of the season, but I really think we need to bring Greg Joseph back because you can't be missing such easy field.
Well, he's gone. He's already claimed. We can bring back Anders, but Greg Joseph has found a new home and he's living the dream.
Well, in my opinion, I liked our kicker. I was excited for the new kicker, giving them a chance. But it's hard for me to say I trust the kicker. And I didn't like the kicker we drafted because he was playing like crap. But I don't know. You got to feel what I'm saying. I know you understand. Everybody listening and hearing this understands. I don't want to complain about it too much. But, missing those kicks really just made me give up on him. So I'm kind of just done with him. Let it go, bring Greg Joseph back, and just be like, hey, get within field goal range. He should make those, but we'll see. Anyway, go Pack Go. I would love for you to compare our kicker to the other kickers in the NFL so far after these 4 weeks to see, am I just tripping or do we really have the worst kicker in the NFL? All right, go Pack Go.
Well, I think he is the worst kicker in the NFL right now. There's one guy on PFF graded lower, but he only played in one game. And he was 0 for 2 on his kicks. But even those 2 kicks were from the 40-yard range and the 50-yard range. So granted, it's worse when you've only attempted 2 and you miss both of them. So you're at 0%. But Narveson is barely graded better than him. He's 9 of 13 and hasn't even attempted a 50-yard kick yet. He's 3 of 6 from the 40-yard range, 2 of 3 from the 30-yard range. Oh, but he's 4 for 4 in the 20s, which is why he was on this team to begin with, because he doesn't miss extra points, which in college is not 33 yards. So yeah, if you're looking for a guy that can bang in kicks from within under 30 yards, this guy's automatic. Outside of that, he's not good. 66% from the 30-yard range, 50% from the 40-yard range, and he hasn't attempted a 50-yarder. By the way, and this is, maybe a credit to the rest of the NFL or whatever, but he is the only one who has missed a kick under 40 yards. He's the only one. The rest of the NFL is 100% in that range. and his field goal percentage from the 40-yard range is tied for the lowest. So, yes, he is the worst kicker in the NFL. Now, Greg Joseph isn't great. He ranks 26th right now. But, yeah, he's better. He just is. He's 5 of 6 on field goals, 3 for 3 on extra points. That's what you want in a kicker. Just don't miss stuff. And again, Greg Joseph is not a good kicker. He never has been. I don't think he ever will be. But he sets a floor. Anders set a floor. I would like to bring Anders back. I understand everybody was really mad at him because he missed extra points and stuff. You know what? He really didn't hardly miss anything else, including 50-plus yarders. He just really couldn't hit the extra points for some reason. And after this offseason, I thought he had a good outing. He had like one really bad day, and I think the Packers were like, screw it, I'm done with this. Decided to say, screw this guy and Greg Joseph, because Greg Joseph also had a really terrible period in there. He was leading the race almost the entire offseason, and then he just went into the dumps and started missing everything. Anders was like guaranteed to win the job. He had one terrible outing. I don't even remember what happened, but it was like, I said he was 100% getting the job, and then that day happened, and I'm like, it is no longer 100%. Dang it, Anders. You really screwed this up. And sure enough, Greg Joseph and Anders Carlson get cut, and we get this random guy. And it was a bad decision. By the way, the best punter in the NFL, J.K. Scott. Boy, if they'd have just exercised a little patience with that guy, huh? Instead, they let him go. Didn't feel like being patient anymore. Now the Chargers have the number 1 punter in the entire NFL. Not that I'm mad because Daniel Whelan is good. I'm making a point about the kicker. We found our way to a good punter, which, by the way, Daniel Whelan right now ranks 5th. Corey Bojorquez is 4th. J.K. Scott is number 1. Frickin'. Can we just not get rid of Daniel Whelan now? We just love getting rid of good punters. But again, it's like the kicker thing. There's no patience there. And Gutekunst even said, like, I don't have as much patience as Ted Thompson had. Well, Ted Thompson's the reason that Mason Crosby was our kicker for so long. Number one, I think Gutekunst probably would have cut Mason before he ever became a good kicker because that took a long time. And then there were like 2 times where Mason looked like his career was done. Ted Thompson's like, nah, it was a bad season. He'll get over it. Gave him an entire season to suck, still brought him back, and he figured it out. It's not what the fans want. It's not what Gutekunst wants, but sometimes you just got to do it. And no, I'm not saying we should be patient with Daniel Narveson because it's not true that you should just be patient with everybody. But when you draft a guy, you do it for a reason. And we saw the reason. The guy was almost automatic from 55 yards. He had a great leg, but he just frickin' brain fart every time he kicked an extra point for whatever reason. And at this point, I would take that. A missed extra point is 1 point. If he misses one of those a game, it's 17 points. How many points have we already missed in field goals? We're up to 6 just from that last game. I don't know. Whatever. I would really hate if this is the time when we need to express patience. Because I'm just not super feeling it, you know? Anyways, whatever. Every time I say something, it's the opposite. He's going to come out and be the best kicker for the rest of the season. I don't know, but that was that. You know, as much as I like Gut and the things that he's done, and I support a lot of his decisions, that was one I didn't like from the start. And not that it was ever any good decisions, because Anders obviously is not a great decision. And what the heck is his name? I don't know. Greg Joseph, I don't think would have been a great decision. They're both going to miss kicks. They're both probably going to lose us games. But to cut 2 guys and go with a guy that you've never had in the building before, that's some scary stuff, and it's paying off exactly like you would expect it to frickin' pay off. Did we just listen to Kyle? Let's try Kyle. I can't remember.
Hey, Kyle from Madison. Yeah, I'm just thinking here for a few minutes. I guess I should. One thing that's, I guess, nice. I mean, I've been preparing to be 2-2, and actually quite pleased with that, all things considered.
Sure. Especially after losing the starting quarterback.
The Vikings, like I said, if that's their best shot, if that's them full strength, and we spot them 28 points, and they scored 3.5. I mean, they just really shrunk quite a bit too, didn't they? When they got that lead, they kind of, I don't know. They didn't handle that very well either. So, I mean, they've got some flaws. Yeah, I mean, that's good. You're 4-0. Good for you. I'm sorry. Again, I just don't. I see why they're.
By the way, I just looked at it for fun. So Sam Darnold, his first game, again, click to ask AI about the image. Why would I do that? I got to click that and see what the heck happens. What is this? This thing just popped up. So ask me about this image. It's an image of Sam Darnold. What does it say? I'm going to say, who is this? Who is this? See if it gets it right. I don't know who this person is. Great. You're freaking useless. Stop interrupting me. Anyways, stupid robots. Talk to me when you're sentient. So again, with Sam Darnold, right? I said that the guy had one good game, and that's not unusual. I shouldn't say he's technically had 3 good games. He had one elite game, which is not unusual. He has up to 3 of those a season, which is crazy because it's like, well, he sucks. Well, no, that's not the full story. So he went from 88, and then it was 70-74. So still good, not great. Guess what his grade was against the Packers? A 45. 45. So I've been expecting the Sam Darnold fall off. That's not great. Yo, what did Jordan get, like a 10? No, they gave him almost a 70. 68.8 grade on that game. Despite how horrible the start was, he picked it up so much down the stretch that they're like, it wasn't bad. So just to kind of complement your point about I'm not so sure about this, again, coming into this game, what did I say? There's a lot of guys that are playing way better than they typically do. And then there's like some superstars that are playing maybe not quite as good as they usually do. So I'm expecting some level of normalization. And Justin Jefferson did have like an 83 grade, which is still not like, his best, but he's trending in that direction, right? He started off with a 70, then like 80s, and now like 83 or what. He's moving in that because he's Justin Jefferson. That's what's going to happen. He's going to end in the 90s. But where's Darnold going to end? Do we think he's going to end in the 80s? I don't think so. Already, just after that one game, they dropped him down to 13th. And that's just as a passing grade. Where is he overall? He's down to 16th overall. This was a guy that was top 5 for like 3 weeks. And after this week, he's down to 16th. He is trending exactly in the direction that you would expect. Jordan is up to 18th. Malik Willis is at 15th. So, by the way, Derek Carr, number 1. Then Geno Smith is 3rd. Jaden Daniels, 4th. Andy Dalton is 5th, tied with Josh Allen. What I've been saying about like really weird stuff. Mahomes is 13th. CJ Stroud is 14th. Tua is 21st. Again, he's out, but still. Dak Prescott, who was maybe the number 1 quarterback in football last year, is 22nd. Kirk Cousins is 23rd, which wouldn't be that unusual if it was just that, because it's like, well, he went to the Falcons, and again, the Vikings, look how good they are with their coaching staff and everything. But with everything being upside down, it's like, no, I think that's an upside down thing. Trevor Lawrence is 24th. Not that he's the greatest in the world, but, still, that sucks for him. Jalen Hurts, 26th via PFF. Justin Herbert, 27th. Jared Goff is 30th, 1 spot ahead of Caleb Williams. How did Caleb grade out yesterday? I'm just curious. What did they give him? They gave him a 63. That's about as bad as I would have expected from a game that was actually not bad. All right, anyways, I don't want to dig into too much because be prepared for me to repeat myself tomorrow because I really want that to be a part of tomorrow's show. It's freaking me out as I look at it. I'm like, what is going on in the world? But again, what do I expect? Normalization. What does that mean? Jordan is going to continue to trend upward, right? I think guys that, some guys we don't know, but I think good football players are good football players, bad football players are bad football players, good teams are good teams, bad teams are bad teams. After year after year after year of saying, ha, Patriots suck now. And then how many times did they end up figuring it out and winning a Super Bowl by the time it was done? The Chiefs, oh, you suck. Blah, 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 blah. They're going to figure it out. 49ers, looks like they're not that good. Figured it out. I can't definitively say that about the Texans because they were only good for a year, but wouldn't be shocked if they turned it around. What does that mean for the Vikings? I don't exactly know because it's very different, but I do expect Darnold to continue to trend in that direction. And forget everybody else. If your quarterback ends up as like the 23rd best quarterback or wherever he's going to land, your team is not going to be very good. Ask the Chicago Bears. Doesn't matter how good their defense is, their wide receivers, all that stuff. If your quarterback can't play, you're going to struggle. Anyways, just continuing to try to support your argument here.
Or no, I don't. They're not championship teams. Sorry, I'll take the Packers all day, even with what I saw today. You could see them get going. They just didn't have the reps and the mental reps. Well, they had was mental reps. They didn't have the physical reps with each other out there. And that was the difference, other than, every possible 50-50 thing almost without exception going against them. So, that's a thing. What I will say though is there is definitely an advantage to now having knocked the rust off Jordan Love. And I mean, he made some great throws. Reed was amazing. He made some stupid plays too. He did about what you would think. Actually, from a production standpoint, actually did quite a bit better than I would have imagined. But watching him limp around out there as he's getting pasted in the first half, I was not a happy dude.
No,
but,
I didn't like that.
And dear God, like the Watson, oh God, that does not look good. So
No.
I'm not in the game again.
High ankle sprain, by the way. So there's a lot of speculation he'll be put on IR. The thought process is like 4 to 6 weeks. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be. It could be less. I'm sure they're going to really want to analyze it. But if you're talking 4 to 6, you put him on IR. Because, you can be out for 4 weeks. So, I mean, it just sucks. And especially like that. It's one thing if like his hamstring goes again and we got to have a conversation. It's like, he's trying everything he can do. But at some point, as talented as you are, best ability is availability, as the kids say. But this isn't that. That was a ball that never should have been thrown. He did everything he could to come down with that ball when he should have just alligator armed that. Like, nope, not touching that one. He should have. I mean, honestly, a lot of times wide receivers do that, and I lose respect for him. Like, you freaking coward. Dude, he didn't. And that's what I've been saying. The wide receivers as a whole have been doing better, and I hope this doesn't scare him away, especially Christian, just attacking the football. He attacked the football, and Jordan got him killed on that. I mean, that was really bad. And that could really hurt Christian in a lot of ways. It could hurt the team in a lot of ways. I'm not, obviously it wasn't intentional. He's trying to make a play. He's trying to rocket it into a spot. But, that was bad.
I think anymore with the way things have gone. But that didn't look good, man.
No.
It could be the end of, well, I'm not going to even say it.
No. He's all right.
What I was going to say is there is some value to, all right, we got Love back in the fold. We went through the pain of the rust, against a really good, pass rush, no doubt. Now what? And getting that touchdown at the end, I know that's now when Viking fans argue that all of Jordan Love's production is garbage time, you can safely tell them, wow, that's just BS. I mean, the last one, sure, but to get that though,
I hate to be that guy because I hate these guys, but that's one of those situations where honestly the answer is go watch the tape. Right? I mean, again, it's such, like, it just makes my skin curl because it's so obnoxious, and it's usually, not always, there are some tape people that actually watch tape. I feel like 90% of the time it's people that don't watch tape. It's people that just sat on their couch and watched the game and had a different perspective. And they want to call it tape because their perspective is based on what happened in the game. But anyways, the bottom line is you can call it garbage time if you want. Jordan made some incredible plays, and the team as a whole made some incredible plays. The throws, the catches, etc. It's one thing for a team to take its foot off the gas, which does impact things, right? A couple of big runs. Yeah, you're probably not playing the run, and you're probably taking, as much as you feel like you're not taking your foot off the gas, you're still trying to play football. I think psychologically, it's hard to be at 110% when you're up by 30 freaking points or 30, 28, I think they were up at one point. Still, that doesn't... I've made this point before, too. I don't remember exactly the context, but just because somebody else is bad, that doesn't automatically make you good, right? A team not playing properly doesn't make Jordan Love suddenly throw the ball really accurately when he's been inaccurate all day long. That was a change in the Packers. So, maybe that's part of the reason why it was such an accelerant. You got the Packers suddenly locked in and the Vikings kind of taking a half a step off the gas. I don't care. Because at the end of the day, the Vikings had to wake up at some point, and even when they did, it really didn't make that big of a difference. The Packers kept scoring. And you can tell that they knew the momentum was on their side when they went for 2. Because they're looking at this saying, we're going for the throat right now, we're going to win, we have all the momentum on our side. They went for 2, and they got 2. You think the Vikings weren't trying it at that point, when their back's against the wall saying, holy crap, we're going to lose this game? I mean, let's be honest, it was a very finite period of time when they felt very comfortable they were going to win. It was 7-28. By the time they score again, it's 14-28, and there's like an entire half left. You can't feel great about that. I mean, you know how quickly these things change. A pick 6, and this game's almost over in the Packers' favor. It doesn't matter what the scoreboard says. So I don't genuinely believe there was a lot of time when, if anybody's foot was off the gas, that it was, like an entire second half. I just don't buy it, especially in the NFL today. There's been the Vikings of all teams, they had the greatest comeback in NFL history was against the Colts or whatever, worst freaking performance I've ever seen. They couldn't complete a forward pass. But yeah, the game is scores happen so fast. It is not hard. Jordan, what did Jordan score? It was like a 90 seconds they fired down the field and scored a touchdown. And again, the Vikings absolutely were trying to stop that. There's no doubt when the Packers are hurrying up and trying to get 90 seconds, they fire down and get a touchdown. So, again, if anybody's trying to make that the excuse for what happened, no, I'm not buying it. There may have been a window where they caught the Vikings sleeping and hit them with a haymaker, but they woke up and it didn't matter because, again, it wasn't that the Vikings were just falling over and people were like, oh, look, there's all this room to run because the Vikings fell asleep on the field, so I'm going to run for 40 yards. No, it was like pinpoint accurate passes. Talk to me about that pass to Jaden Reed against the safety who was locked in coverage. Was the safety sleeping? It looked to me like he was trying. He was shoulder for shoulder with Reed. But it was an accurate pass, and Reed skies up in the air and catches the ball. That's not bad defensive play. It's not broken, busted coverage. That's a great play by the offense. So it's just an example of why that's just kind of a lame cop-out by anybody trying to play that card.
From a psychological standpoint, I think it's important. The way they were able to move the ball with ease, even at times when the Vikings were trying definitely to stop them in the second half, was encouraging. But just to shake the rust off and move forward, I think is a necessary pain point that we've now crossed. So let's hope I don't know about Wyatt's status. Let's hope we can get out of that game relatively injury-free. Hope that Jordan doesn't have any setbacks. And then, move ahead. Try to get 3-2 now next week. So, yeah, man, it's kind of a disaster, but also just kind of a necessary disaster after week one. So, whatever.
Well, it is a good point, too, because it seems like for whatever reason the last 2 years, they need that moment when they realize, holy crap, we're kind of good at this. Usually that comes mid-season. I'm not saying it has to be in this game, but maybe that was the wake-up call that, man, we can really do this. Maybe that, hopefully, again, we don't have to wait until week 9, like the last 2 years, week 9, week 10, when everybody wakes up and then we barely get into the playoffs because we go on a run. Let's do it now. Let's look at the fact that we hung, 29 points on a team, or I guess 22 points on a team and a half? I don't know what it was, but basically all 29 came in the second half. One touchdown was in the last few seconds of the second half. And that was an offensive and defensive effort. And honestly, I think, when we kick over to PFF tomorrow, you'll see the offense really didn't get dinged very much. The defense absolutely did. But even still, you want to talk about like missed opportunities. I remember watching the game just thinking, man, if the Packers had just scored on any of these opportunities, there was a period of time, right, early in the game, the defense couldn't stop the Vikings. And I feel like that's a very common thing with the Packers going back since forever. It takes a while for them to kind of like slow things down. But there was a period of time where it's like, they stopped him, and they stopped him, and they stopped him, and the offense couldn't get any points. And I'm looking at it going, man, if they could have got any points on any of these stops, we would be ahead right now. Anyways, I'm going to leave you guys with that. We got 14 more calls to get through, so I'll try to be less long-winded, I suppose, with the next couple days. But appreciate all the calls, and onward and upward we go. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.